everyone. This is Sahara TV, and I'm Chika Odor. We've come to the very last interview of the day, and we have the one and only Sahr Ngajuah on Sahara TV via Skype. He is a theater performer. He is the lead character in The Fella on Broadway. I'm sure many of you saw him shaking his nyash in New York City and wherever. Hi, Sahr. Welcome to Sahara TV. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you so much for joining us. Where are you Skyping in from?
I'm in the Hamptons right now, New York.
Okay, you're in New York. You're chilling, living the good life.
Well, yeah, try.
Okay. So
Try to make the best of it.
I understand. Before we jump into the Fella production, can you give us a brief explanation of your background in theater?
Yeah, I started in theater very young, around the age of 15 years old, and I began studying at a performing arts high school in Atlanta called Tri-Cities. And while I was there, I came under the tutelage of a director named Freddie Hendricks. And as a result of my working with Freddie Hendricks, I spent many years also working at a theater called Seven Stages Theater in Atlanta, which was the hub for international theater. And through my work there, I came in contact with many theater companies and directors and styles, actually, from around the world. Mm-hmm. That theater, Seven Stages, was based in the theater of the absurd. So I saw a lot of experimental theater there, and eventually I moved to the Netherlands, and I spent 8 years there working primarily as a theater director and writer and collaborator with a few different companies. And during my time in Holland, I also studied at an institute called Das Arts, which is a postgrad institute for theater research. Mm-hmm. There I took a master's degree. And
so
yeah, the only reason I left Holland is because this Fela show came up. And yeah, here we are now. You still there?
Yeah. So we have a connection. Not only are we fans of Fela, but I lived about 30 minutes from Tri-Cities High School.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
and a lot of my friends went
Tri-Cities,
there too.
Yeah, that was
yeah, ATL is here.
Sorry?
ATL is here, right, in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
where is that? I don't hear you.
So
is ATL in the house?
Yeah, ATL's in the house.
Boom. Nice one.
But you're from Sierra Leone. How does a Sierra Leonean get involved with Broadway and theater? Because a lot of Africans don't see this as a viable or a credible career, especially for their second generation children who are part of the diaspora.
Yeah, well, no, this is true. Yeah, and I'm first generation myself, so my father really, he didn't make any sense to him at all that
what did he want you
I
to
would
do?
be involved in
Engineering or law?
art as a profession. That was just well, okay. So this is the thing. This is quite typical, for Africans after they immigrate. For their kids to go into this sort of field, art or in some way entertainment or something like that. It doesn't really make sense, and as a result, yeah, you don't have as many people coming from different parts of Africa, first generation, that are doing it. But it does happen. Now, how it happened for me, it was very unique to my own situation. And yeah, I think anybody else finds themselves in a similar situation probably has a very unique journey in order to get there.
Okay.
Personally, I would like to see more art institutes throughout Africa. But yeah, I think those sorts of things will take time. There are a lot of practical things we have, going. A lot of practical issues that we still have on the table, Okay, we're talking about Sierra Leone now. We're still trying to make sure that we have lights 24 hours a day. So,
Right.
there quite a few things need to be sorted out there. And well,
But I just want to now bring in the Broadway. So many reviews. You guys were nominated for Tony Awards, but there's also a lot of criticism saying that it's a watered down version of history, the rich history of Fela Kuti. What do you have to say in response?
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I guess on some level, I mean, watering down. Yeah, the thing that I found really fascinating about during the developmental process working on Fela was that no matter who I spoke to, anyone that had any sort of cross paths, anyone who had any sort of contact with Fela, they had so many interesting things to say about their encounter. Now, granted, this is from people who just had an encounter to his own family. And Fela lived a very rich and amazing life. And I've heard Bill T. Jones say on many different occasions, the Fela story that we're presenting on one level is an introduction to a man who lived a very rich life. And there are so many more aspects to Fela than what we're covering here. And ultimately, we are presenting Fela within a genre, even though we're a bit, on the edge of that genre. It's still presenting Fela in a genre and trying to satisfy a few different things. One is, of course, an introduction. You have people who walk into theaters all over the world to see Fela who've never heard of Fela at all, and are only willing to commit maybe 2.5 hours at the most to find out about him.
Right.
Within the context of this theater show that we're doing, music and dance. And then you have people who've known about Fela.
You're admitting that the production was an introduction into the life of Fela Kuti. So what about his death? The reports say that he died of AIDS. That's still disputed. But the Broadway didn't touch on his death. Was that a conscientious decision or what?
Yeah, it was. Bill T. Jones, this is something that I heard Bill T. Jones say in many different interviews. And this was also a discussion on the table when he decided to take out the part about Fela dying of AIDS, because it used to be in there. It was in there off Broadway. And now I think he didn't take it out until Broadway, actually. But he said that he didn't want Fela, at least within the context that he's presenting it in this Broadway show, to be used as a poster child for AIDS awareness in Africa. Bill T. Jones has his own experience as an artist living with HIV/AIDS, and I think what he wanted to do was really deal with Fela, the artist, Fela, the political thinker, Fela, the lover. And AIDS being such a very big topic, issue, with many different aspects to it, I think he wanted to just leave it alone altogether.
But it's also disputed. So perhaps if he were to put AIDS in the story, people would be like, no one knows for sure, because there's still a conspiracy that he was killed by the government of Nigeria.
Yes, no, this is true. And I just got the impression that I think the subject itself opened up a wormhole bigger than what he wanted to jump into. When we first made this show, we were the show was like 3 hours long back off Broadway. We cut it down to like 2 hours and 15 minutes. And I think for him, it was like, Fela and AIDS is another story. It's not the story that he wanted to tell.
So the story that was definitely told in the Broadway was that he was a womanizer of some sorts. There was so much nyash in it, I could smell it. And women were everywhere. So what about that story? Don't you think that was like a one-sided perception of who he really was? Because he was more than the ladies. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think because Bill T. Jones is a choreographer, the dance, of course, and the movement, is a very important aspect of everything that Bill was doing.
Right.
And I think also the reality of how much nyash you see when you go to an Afrobeat concert was something that he had to wrap his head around. And in wrapping his head around it, you know, the question came like, right, how do people actually relate to the women of Afrobeat, so to speak?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the emphasis on the nyash is something that we find in Afrobeat, you know, in general.
That's true. That's true.
Sorry.
You're correct. So what about the future? Is it going to come back to New York, or what's happening?
Yeah, we're back in New York, and we're going to be on Broadway starting July 9. We're going to be running for 4 weeks.
Mm-hmm. So how has this production changed your life, or has it?
Well, so many different ways. I guess one of the most profound ways that this production has changed my life is that in playing in so many different cities for so many different types of audiences, playing this live show that really wants to connect with its audience in a visceral and literal way. It's I suppose it's helped me. It's kind of helped cultivate my feelings towards my connection to other human beings and so many other human beings.
Mm-hmm. Because Fela's music, in the end, it's quite universal. It has universal appeal, right?
It does indeed, and you know, this show is really meant to reach people no matter where they are from,
right,
and to connect with them too. You know, it's not just a show that people come and watch. It's a show that people are asked to participate in.
My last question, Sahr, what is your favorite Fela Kuti song?
Well, that moves. It fluctuates from time to time, but
based on your mood, right? Based on what you ate that day.
Based on what I ate that, yeah, right, exactly. But no, for a long time running now, there's no way around the Confusion Break Bones.
Okay, can you sing us a line or two?
One is really yeah. Say what?
Confusion Break Bones.
Yeah. Oju aleba, oju aleba, oju aleba, oju aleba. Motor they come from east, Banat motor they come from west, Banat motor they come from north, Banat motor they come from south. One policeman not the for center. Now confusion be that you, confusion now what? Confusion now with you.
Excellent. Bravo. You really were able to tap into his voice. He had a rich, beautiful, hemp-laced voice, of course, but it was nice. So that was great.
Hey, cheers, man.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to talk to Sahara TV. Wish you all the best in the future and keep in touch. Cheers.
I will. Great talking to you guys, man. And keep up what you are doing as well.
No problem. Take care.
Thank you. All right. Bye.
All right, everyone. That was Sahr Ngajuah. He played the lead role and is still playing the role of Fela Anikulapo Kuti, the Nigerian Afrobeat maestro. And that is still playing on Broadway. It is toured around the world, including Nigeria, where people flock to see the depiction of the life of Fela Kuti on stage.